Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 198, The Sin of Delicacy. I don't know if you know what the sin of delicacy is, but you can actually look it up. So look up C.S. Lewis and the sin of gluttony, and you'll find out what the sin of delicacy is. And so C.S. Lewis is very particular about it. In the Screw Tape Letters, he writes a letter about gluttony. So gluttony, most people think is a sin of excess, where you actually have where you eat too much food, where you actually indulge too much. And I mean, for sure, that is the sin of gluttony, but that's a sin of gluttony of excess. There's actually a sin of gluttony of non-excess, where you're actually too particular with food, where you actually eat too little, and you actually, that's called the sin of delicacy, that your palate and your appetite are so refined, and your palate and your appetite are so sensitive that you actually can't imbibe normal food, that you actually have to sit there and change people's menus. You actually have to, well, you know, that piece of bread is not quite small enough for me, I want smaller, or that 2% milk's not 1%, or, you know, and you try to refine the food to no end, at the annoyance of pretty much everybody. You know, if you have the sin of delicacy, you have the sin of, you know, like you go to a restaurant and there's a salad and it says house salad. You say, well, what's in the house salad? And they say, well, you know, there's, you know, iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and, you know, vinaigrette or something like that. And you say, well, could you do me a favor? Could you change the salad to, say, spinach? Can you change the iceberg to spinach? And instead of the onions, I don't want onions. I want olives. Instead of the you know, the tomatoes, I want, you know, pepperoncini. Instead of the vinaigrette or whatever it is, I want Russian. You know, you just change it. And so that's the sin of delicacy. Like if you go to a restaurant, you eat what the food's presented to you. Somebody actually took their hard time and their labors to design a menu that people might like. And if you go there and you take their menu and you pick it apart, and that your palate's so refined that you have to make people do labor for you, where they actually have to go out of their way for you, that's the sin of delicacy. And this is not a small sin either. This is actually a sin of gluttony. Gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins. Therefore, this has the potential of being weaponized and has the potential of being a mortal sin. So if you're the kind of person that's kind of turned off by certain things, that you're picky with food or you're picky with lots of situations, well then, you really have to think about this. Are you guilty of the sin of delicacy? Because, you know, I know I'm not. I know I'm not, and so I'll tell you what happens. I go to somebody's house and they say, hey, here we have, you know, pumpkin pie and pizza. Good, thank you so much. That's really great. I can't believe you made it. Can I have seconds? That's what I do. That's not the sin of delicacy. That may be the sin of gluttony, but it's not the sin of delicacy. People that the food is not refined enough for them, that what people offer them isn't good enough for them, that you will change your mind based upon what people give you, and you will try to make people do essentially tasks for you to make it palatable to you. And the reason why this is a problem is you hold everybody hostage with your palate. You hold everybody hostage with your preference. And this goes back to the Garden of Eden again, that you're trying to control somebody else. This is when Eve, she ate the apple, right? She eats the apple, yum, yum, yum. And then she says, what's the first thing she wants to do? She wants Adam to eat the apple. She wants to control him. She wants him to participate in the same sin she just participated in. That's a sin of delicacy. That it's an object of control, that you want to take your own personal, subjective palate, your own personal subjective preferences, and use them to order other people in other directions. And you know, this makes sense to me. I've thought about it a long time. This is a very deep topic, by the way. If this makes no sense to you, watch the next video, because it should make sense to you. And everybody's met somebody like that, where they have the sin of delicacy, and the sin of delicacy is annoying, to say the least, where people are just so particular, where their appetite, like things that make them nauseous. Oh, that makes me so nauseous. It doesn't make you nauseous. Let's get real, people. I'm a physician. I studied medicine for numerous years. I've been in private practice for 13 years. I trained for 5 years in medicine. Nobody's made nauseous by blue cheese, okay? Nobody's made nauseous by cilantro. Nobody's made nauseous by like 4 pepperoncinis instead of 2. What that is, it's an act of control over your fellow man. That's a sin. That's a sin of delicacy, but it's also, and that's a sin of gluttony, by the way, but it's also a sin of pride if you're not able to recognize it. So This is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please watch the next video. And, oh, by the way, get the Mass, pray the daily rosary, and live a sacramental life. God bless you all.